now and show you once again the report by Advance County, large tree down on power line at South Garnet Street and West Jennett Avenue in Henderson. That's probably with the cell we just were tracking. So let me take you in a little bit closer where we're still seeing the warning. We're going to go in and look for that rotation because a lot of times with the radar we can't see that. And this is really broad rotation right now, considering it was a tighter couplet. But you can see the brighter colors are going away. It's getting more elongated. Still going to have gusty winds, and sometimes it's really semantics. What we were saying, it's a tornado. Oh, we don't see the rotation anymore. The straight line winds can do just as much damage. So that entire area there between Townsville and Williamsboro is going to have enough gusts, at least for a brief amount of time, that could be strong enough to bring trees down. Even if the trees weren't sitting in saturated soil, which they are, which makes it much easier for these trees to go down, especially considering a lot of trees around here have a shallow root system, so it doesn't take as much. You can have a wind gust less than 50 and a tree can go down. Then you add in saturated soil and you add in winds gusting at 70 or 80 miles an hour, you get the idea. It's easier to have quite a few trees going down. And Brittany, I just noticed here, because this is what we've been doing all afternoon, I'm gonna let you take it here, okay. But notice south of where the warning is, what are we seeing again? It looks like a little couplet trying to form.
Yeah, so looking at a little rotation too, just south of Henderson, where we had the bright green, also the red too, going away from radar, the green going towards. That's where we're seeing that counterclockwise flow. So heads up, Henderson, you are just the south of that warning, but just kind of keep an eye.
Came out. So let's take a look at the radar view. I'm going to stop the time lapse. North central Nash County, eastern Warren County, northwestern Halifax County, northeastern Franklin County in a tornado warning right now. You see the red polygon that has showed up. Let me zoom into that location a little bit tighter. And what is emanating right now is around the Centerville area of Franklin County. So at 6:05, a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 13 miles east of Lewisburg, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. It is a radar indicated tornado. So what we're seeing here, locations impacted include Roanoke Rapids. You see there's Littleton, Castalia, Red Oak, Arcola, Medoc Mountain State Park, Avonton, Airlie, Roanoke Rapids, Lake, and Rosemary Community. Let's delve inside, turn off the zoom, and we'll take a look at the velocities to see what we can see. And there's a broad couplet that is now making its way into parts of Warren County and also Halifax counties. And you can see it located in this vicinity here. Not one of our tighter couplets that we've seen this afternoon, not the signature that we saw on the radar over Orange County or over Cumberland County, but there is still a broad circulation with the raindrops in green inside the thunderstorm heading toward the radar site, which again is around the Clayton area, and the reds are the raindrops moving away from the radar site. So we're seeing a broad circulation show up right about here. Let me zoom in and we can see what roads and get a closer idea who is being impacted right now. And this is just the beginning of the tornado warning. So we're looking at State Road 561, Taylor Store Road, State Road 1449, 1448, also Wildlife Road near Castalia, Centerville, the Wood Community. That's where the rotation is showing up right now. If you're in the Avonton area, the Ida community, let's broaden out the view. There's Essex, there's Arcola, there's Brinkleyville. You're all in the line of sight from this storm. Let's expand the view, and I'm going to do a storm track. It's moving northeast at 50, so this is one of our faster moving storms. Moving northeast at 50 near where the center of the couplet should be. And we'll talk about the communities, at least in the immediate sense. Wood, 610, Essex, 616, Old Bethlehem, 616, the Hollister community, 618, Arcola arriving approximately around 619, Grove Hill at 622, and the Brinkleyville community at 623. If you are in this area, and I mentioned or name of your community, I should say, you need to find your safe spot right now. Go into an interior room, away from any exterior walls, a room that doesn't have any windows, very small. The more structurally sound the room is, the safer it will be. Get into the building. These locations may have mobile homes. You want to try to get out of it before it comes. If you're in Littleton and Coolidge Crossroads and getting up closer to Southern Virginia, you have time to get into a safer structure. But if you're in Wood and Essex, stay where you are until the storm does pass. You'll be safe just to stay inside a structure, period, than trying to get out and trying to get away from the storm. This is the only tornado warning that we have right now. The rest of what we're seeing is a Boeing segment showing heavy rainfall moving through our eastern counties, moving through Warren County right now, Nash County, south through Wilson, Goldsboro, also getting into Duplin County. And the tornadic thunderstorm, which prompted the warning, has moved out of the warned area. And, okay, so that's the other one up toward Vance County. So that's been canceled. That's certainly good news. And that Boeing segment continues all the way down into Duplin County. So right now, the only tornado warning that's in effect is impacting Franklin County and Halifax County and the eastern part of Warren County. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, continue to watch the rotation. If it tightens up, we'll come back. There's a look at Lake Gaston at the Point Restaurant, which is just right over that area because it's in Littleton and it's in line to be impacted. So we're going to continue to watch the Lake Gaston camera as that storm moves closer. But I'm going to toss it back to David and Deborah. I'll be here. If I see anything that warrants me coming back, tightening couplet, I will certainly come on back.
We know you will. Mike, thank you.
I want to send it over to Catherine Brown now, who is monitoring some video just coming into our newsroom. Catherine?
Yeah, guys, getting this video in from spies. This is in Moore County, taken by someone in a vehicle. And just take a look at these skies beyond the tree line here. Ominous. They say this... As they sent the video to us, they say this is video of a tornado coming into this area, and you can see those clouds moving together very quickly. And this, let me see if I can fast forward it just a little bit, where you can see sort of a more formative, what looks to be a funnel cloud. All right. Hey. There I am. All right. We're going to work to try and get that video queued back up and bring it back to you. But we continue to get a lot of video into our newsroom from all across our viewing area. That was Browns Mill Road, where this is that you're looking at. And we're going to continue working to try and get more from that and bring that to you when we can, guys.
All right, Catherine, thank you.
And let's get right back to Mike Mays. Mike?
Yeah, we have a new tornado warning that's been issued now for parts of northeastern Nash County, northwestern Edgecombe County, and central Halifax County. So it's a little bit overlapping the old tornado warning, or the current tornado warning, I should say. And you can see the outline of the polygon there. This one is moving north at 70 miles per hour. That is the fastest moving storm that we've seen this afternoon, and will be impacting Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, Halifax, Dorches, Enfield, Weldon, Whitakers, Battleboro, South Weldon, and the Rosemary community. And you can definitely see that Boeing segment, and we mentioned the possibility within that line. We were talking about this yesterday, there could be an embedded tornado, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of this. So it's not like one of those discrete supercells that we saw earlier producing tornado warnings. This is inside the segment, the Boeing segment that we've been talking about. So let me turn this off, clear that. We'll do a time lapse so you can see over the last 30 minutes how rapidly it's moving through. So if you're watching from Red Oak right now, you're having very heavy rainfall, gusty winds. If you're in Enfield, let me stop this and we'll outline the areas that are about to be impacted. And we zoom in. There is Enfield, there is Ringwood, there is Essex, Glenview, Gethsemane, Whitakers. It is on your doorstep right now. I'm going to turn on the velocities to see if I can find any rotation. And in both tornado warnings, it is so broad that it's very hard to find an exact couplet because the radar beam is at 3,000 feet off the ground. So it's just very broad and very hard to point out. So we just have to treat it like there's damaging winds all throughout this region, moving north at 70. So let me do a storm track, and we're going to take it to from this point here, north at 70, and let's see if I'm wide enough. Boy, this is moving fast. So there is 70 miles per hour. So let me clear that off. Let me try this again because it's moving a little bit east of north. Okay, so we're talking about Battleboro, 6:15, minute from now. City Trailer Park right now. North Green, 6:16, Whitakers, 6:19, Taylor's Crossroads at 6:20, and also the Glenview community at 6:22. Yeah, it's right along I-95. It's paralleling I-95. if you're listening to us on Mix 101.5 and you're driving in from Virginia, coming down I-95, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a potential tornado running parallel to I-95. We've seen these tornadoes impact interstates. We saw the one at Smithfield running parallel to I-95. We saw the Orange County tornado go over I-40 and I-85. And if you're watching me on TV, I'm outlining, drawing the line right over I-95. And the circulation we're seeing right now is right here. It's very diffuse. You got to remember the radar beam is 3,500 feet off the ground. So it's hard to see that ground level rotation, but it is just to the east of Gold Rock. It's going to be heading over to Whitaker's and Battleboro because you guys are located right about here where I'm putting these X's. And then up there is Enfield, you're next in line, Crowell's Crossroads as well. There's the Beaver Dam community. A lot of farms located across this area. And also there's Highway 301 going right through where the rotation is. So there are a lot of cars, I'm sure, driving along that road right now that are under the threat of that tornado. And again, that's just one of 2 tornado warnings right now that do continue. The one that I pointed out in Nash, Edgecombe, and Halifax counties until 6:45. This one over here that impacts Nash County, Warren County, Halifax County, Franklin County, that's about till 6:45. So we'll keep an eye on these. Kat Campbell is standing over at the wall. I'm going to throw it to her. She has more information to share with you. Kat?
Right, and Mike, we're getting a better view of this storm, I believe, on NextRad radar right now. We're able to access some of the radar sites in Virginia, pull in that radar data, and that's valuable to us because it's a little bit closer to this storm right now. And we're seeing a couple areas of rotation that are showing up fairly well right now that we want to point out to you. And Amy is doing a great job of circling these areas of rotation that we're watching right now. One area of rotation is just south of I-95. Remember, this is moving northeast at 70 miles per hour right now, so it is likely going to parallel just south of I-95. We are also watching an area just south of Whitaker's as well for a little bit of rotation there. Now, something we are keeping a close eye on our debris detector, and we have to use this product very cautiously because it's very far away from the radar site, but there is some potential for some debris with that area of rotation that I was just showing you. It passed over an area near Drake's earlier, but this is again paralleling just south of I-95 right now, where we are seeing the potential for some rotation as well as the potential for debris in this location. And you can tell it's moving very, very quickly through this area. I want to zoom in on this area of location and show you exactly where it is. It was earlier, passed just east of Gold Rock. It's continuing to move north very, very quickly. It just crossed over NC Highway 33 west, and it is going to continue to move just to the north along the county line there. Still just south of I-95 right now, where we're seeing the potential for some debris, but we want to note as this continues to lift to the north and east, we could see it cross just over I-95. So if you are near Highway 33 West, NC Highway 33 West and I-95, that is the intersection of where we are seeing some potential debris as well as a very strong rotation in that area right now. It is just west of Whitaker's, and it will continue to move north and east, potentially impacting areas just west of Enfield over the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we'll send it back to Mike Mays as he pulls up a little bit more information from other radar sites as well.
Yeah, that debris signature that you showed looked a little bit more impressive on the latest scan. Yeah.
You know, it's far away from radar, so we do have to use that cautiously,
Right.
but it is certainly alarming to see that even that far away.
We're talking about the radar beam shooting up 3,700 feet up in the air. So, yeah, very impressive. So, we're looking at, let me widen up the view and show you what else is going on. And again, the worst is over for the majority of the viewing area. We still have severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Yes.
Doing that, we've got Sarah Kruger live in Orange County. We want to go back to her, if that's okay to break away for just a moment. That's where we've seen, I think, the majority or most of the damage so far this afternoon.
Kat was talking about the debris detector now that's just outside of I-95 and in that area. We were watching that kind of signature. I've lost track of time now. A couple of hours ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, in Orange County as it was making its way crossing I-40 and I-85. Sarah Kruger joining us again now in Orange County with some of the damage that she's seeing.
Deborah, we're still in that same spot near old NC 86 and I-40, and I want to show you just around us quickly the extent of this. This is Mike Dodson's yard, and you can see that trees are down everywhere. This is Mike Dodson with me right here. He estimates at least 30 trees are down on his property. So, Mike, I know you were inside when this happened. Your family was inside, your wife, your kids. Tell us how you all are doing.
We're doing fine at this point. Just trying to take in the magnitude of the damage, and just waiting for the rain to stop so we can start some sort of cleanup. It's a huge amount of damage, but we're very lucky that the house is not damaged. No one's hurt. It's just basically trees. A couple of vehicles damaged.
And walk us through what exactly happened, where you all were, what you heard, what you saw.
Okay. I personally was in my workshop working, and my brother came in and said I had been hearing the warnings all afternoon, but he came in and said that one.
Not seeing any reports so far of any confirmation of a touchdown or any damage, but regardless, if you have a touchdown or if you have these winds going in a straight line, that could likely produce damage. And this system has already produced damage all around central North Carolina. So as we continue to move farther to the south, still looking at the strongest part of this storm moving throughout, we have just a broken line now making its way into Rocky Mount, moving east of Wilson, Goldsboro, Sampson County. We were still under a severe thunderstorm warning in Sampson County, but it looks like if we go down to the Sandhills in Sampson County, you still have that warning in effect, but actually that threat is really going down very quickly for you. Notice the strongest part of this line, that's moving out of your direction, moving towards Mount Olive and Goldsboro. So that severe threat diminishing, at least in the short term for Sampson County. Indian Springs, watch out for heavy rainfall, gusty winds in Goldsboro. This is one area that's already been hit hard by very strong storms as well. So Steve, on top of kind of the reports that we're seeing so far on radar on our system, are there any more reports coming in from the National Weather Service?
Right now, all those storm reports that we've been talking about, they're all starting to come in now. So we're getting more and more of those coming in as we're seeing less and less of the tornado warnings. The National Weather Service having their hands full with all these warnings right now. The good news is, I got to say, the rotation that we've been seeing here, it's been very sporadic. A lot of these warnings are issued and it's a tight couplet, and then all of a sudden it dissipates very quickly, although the warning stays in effect. There's a new image in, and so considering on a normal day, we would be concerned about rotation over this one. This isn't even close to the what we've been seeing earlier in the day. So likely this is a storm with rotation. But at this point in time, until we get a really tight couplet, we're not too overly confident that that is a tornado that's on the ground there. But we still have to treat it as at least that is a potential. So again, we're watching this one here, racing off to the north right now. Let me get some towns on there. Well, there's Gibbs Avenue, Highway 561, and Highway 4 just north of Ringwood there, and Old Bethlehem. This is all north of Centerville. So it went by Centerville a little while ago, and this is moving off to the north and the east, and this one is going about close to 60 miles an hour. So the speed is continuing to be very fast. We knew these were going to be very fast. And then as we come down here to this other tornado warning just south of Enfield, we're not seeing the really tight couplet that we were before. So likely, even if we're not seeing a tornado, we told you a little while ago, this is all just semantics, because at the end of the day, you're still going to get straight line winds out of this, because that entire area, let me go ahead and show you the reflectivity, that entire line there, I'll take the warning off, is going to be seeing some very strong gusty winds and heavy downpours. So if you're not getting a rotational wind, you're likely getting a straight line wind that can also do the damage as well. Not everywhere in this line is probably seeing the same type of winds. They're going to be gusty, but that leading edge of it is where we're probably seeing some strong, very at times ferocious winds. Let's go ahead and look at the velocity. This takes into account forward motion of the storm plus the outflow of it. So if we add those up, and you can see some impressive totals here of potentially seeing winds along that line and that 50, 60, 70 mile an hour gust range. So that is pretty strong. That's easily enough to see significant damage. And we talk about fast moving storms, and number one, they're hard to track as far as tornadoes go. But if you have forward motion of a storm that is, say, potentially upwards of 60 or 70, where this particular graphic is just 50, which is a lot slower than most of them, and let's say it's just a generic outflow from that storm that's about about 30 miles an hour. You take the forward motion plus that outflow, and the result is at the surface, you're feeling gusts closer to 80 miles an hour. So that combination of fast-moving storms and then the outflow can easily cause the significant damage that we're seeing. That's why the number one threat today was for these straight line strong gusty winds. And you're seeing that now with the entire line of storms, severe thunderstorm warnings with embedded rotation. And in those, we get those tornado warnings that Brittany's been talking about. And again, that is really quickly going to be exiting the area. I would say likely within the next 30 minutes or so, those two tornado warnings that we're seeing are going to be up into Virginia and continuing to move north if indeed they can hold their rotation together. So let me go ahead and switch over and let's see if we can't find the rotation. Do you see how it's getting not nearly as tight as it was, but there's still a little bit. Well, this is new. Okay, so where we had rotation before is fizzling out a bit. But now notice just south of Littleton, do you see that potential rotation just starting to form right there? So that is probably likely going to be another warning that's going to be issued here really quickly because that's new. That's a new rotation. And the thing that's so amazing is that we're getting rotation, these cells that are really, really close to each other. Times they're not going to be so close, but this is the case. So one rotation stops and the other one really close really picks up. So this is not a tornado warning officially from the National Weather Service, but this is very similar to the broad rotation that we've been seeing all afternoon long. If you live in the Littleton area, I advise you right now to go ahead and get to your safe place, because as this is moving towards you at a potentially 60 miles an hour, it's signs of a rotating storm. And in that rotation, we can see a brief tornado touchdown. So we don't want to be out and about looking out the window or something. Get to the center part of your home if you can, and make sure you're protected by as many walls as possible. So again, we can see that that just tightened up in the last 5-10 minutes or so, Brittany, as it looks like it's heading right towards Littleton, and it's inside of a current tornado warning, but that was from the rotation that you see just off to the west of that. So this was just spun up.
And yeah, and now that we kind of have this broken line, we kind of have to really just watch for multiple different areas of rotation.
Rotation right now, and that storm is moving to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So it will be impacting, well, the rain is already impacting Lake Gaston, but the greatest area of rotation will soon be in that area. And that tornado warning continues until about 7:15 this evening. Now, we still have that other tornado warning that's in effect. So we just find out the tornado warning for Edgecombe and Nash has been discontinued. So you guys in Whitakers are okay, Gold Rock, you're okay, Battleboro is okay, even though the polygon is still showing up. You have been cleared as of 6:26, and that is just about 30 seconds ago that happened. It just moved up, cleared your area. So we still see the tornado warning in effect for Beaver Dam, Pea Hill, Crossroads, Tillery, Days Crossroads, and Weldon. And this storm is moving to the northeast at about 70 miles per hour. So we just see a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Northampton County. So you folks in Jackson and Conway, getting over to the Severn community, you are the last county in our viewing area to be put into a warning. And this line, let's time lapse this over the past half hour, moving rapidly in your direction about 70 miles per hour. So soon, Roanoke Rapids, Jackson, Brick Square, Woodland will all be impacted. You can see winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. So stay indoors until this does pass. And David and Deborah, again, that is the last final county that is in a warning. And I believe every county in our viewing area I've mentioned on the air today in a warning.
Well, and you said that was going to happen, that everybody in our area would be touched by the storm system in some way. So some more than others when it comes to damage or power outages. We're now at 71,000 people and customers around the state who are without power. So obviously we are going to stay here, though. Mike isn't going anywhere in case something else pops up.
It's just amazing how quickly this major line has moved through this evening.
Right.
You and I have been sitting here for almost 4 hours now.
Yeah,
it was far to the west of us.
Right.
And now it's moved on to the east, and folks down east have got to contend with this throughout the course of the evening. People in our immediate viewing area so far seems to have weathered this, with the exception of those with the damage they have, like the gentleman who lost 30 trees in 20 seconds, the houses that have been ripped apart. It's just, we are so fortunate that thus far, we have not heard of any injuries.
That is the good news in all of this. It is now about 6:30 right here at WRAL. If you are looking for the NBC Nightly News, you can find that on WRAL2. And we are going to continue our coverage right now because we know that we are not quite out of the woods just yet.
The WRAL Storm Tracker is in
I-95, but if you live along an east of I-95, that's where we still at least have for the next hour or so highest threat for severe weather. So watching us across the Triangle, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, just dealing with regular rainfall, so to speak, just light, widespread rainfall, a few moderate showers here and there. Really not seeing any much in the way of lightning too often.
But I have lots of, I have a metal business here and had lots of metal in the backyard stored for customers to come pick up, and a lot of it's damaged.
Yeah, we saw a couple of pieces of that metal, this sheet metal just wrapped around some trees over there from the force of the wind.
Yeah.
Now, directly across the street, we had showed folks a bit earlier a home that was pretty well devastated by the tornado when it touched down and actually tore that home apart. We talked to a fellow whose aunt used to live there, and you know a little bit more about her. Tell us what happened when thunderstorms and lightning storms would come in the area.
Well, Miss Scarlett was extremely afraid of thunderstorms, and in the past years, every time a severe one would come up, she would always come to our house where we have a basement, and very, very nervous over them. For me, I wasn't that terrified of them, but she really was, and she passed away about a year ago, and I'm sure with the destruction of the house, if she was alive today, she'd say, "I told you so." So she
That right there, that's one of the trees.
yeah.
Obviously, it was weakened enough that it would come down, and that's a good lesson to anybody who's out here where there is storm damage. A tree may look stable, but after a storm like this goes through, there's cracks and breaks in those trees, and they can suddenly let go without warning, as that one just behind us did.
That's exactly right. With a little bit of breeze, they can make them continue to turn loose and fall.
And you take a look at this tree right behind us. You talked about the twisting effect of the wind. Look at how that big branch that came off that trunk was literally twisted and spun around.
Yeah, that swing belongs to my son. He enjoyed swinging in that swing, so we'll have to get another one for him.
The most important thing is that you, your son, and everybody else around this area, they survive. They survive without injury. Material things, they can be replaced.
That's right. That's right. We're all safe, and everyone, my neighbors, we're doing fine, and hope, very lucky that no one was in the house the next door. So she had her oldest son that recently had a stroke also, and he stayed there with her in her last years, and he has relocated to Raleigh with his brother, and so I've notified him about what had happened, and so.
As someone said to me a bit earlier, following our last live report, God was looking down on Hillsborough on this Good Friday, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. It sure was. It was just ending.
Mr. Mike Dodson, thank you for taking the time. I hope you get your home repaired as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
And that is what we're seeing here in Hillsborough. That tree, as it snapped down and fell, that was a bit of a surprise. But again, that is a warning to anybody who's dealing with any of this stuff as a result of these storms, and not just even tornadoes, but also some of those straight line winds. These trees can become weakened and they can suddenly snap and fall down. So be careful if you're dealing with any kind of storm damage out there. Reporting from Hillsborough, I'm Steve Sprazier, CBS 17 News.
Steve, thank you for being out there, and you be careful as well. We're a little worried when we hear that stuff snapping in the background. We have a new tornado warning that has been issued. This is for Northampton County, so this is well to the northeast of the Triangle, and coming in as we speak. It's a continuation of the tornado warning that's in effect. So a tornado located near Roanoke Rapids. We're talking about those storms, Halifax and Northampton County. So let's dive in for a closer look here. Also Mecklenburg County, continuing that tornado warning. We'll return to the South Hill area momentarily. Numerous different tornado warning boxes. The Northampton County warning goes until 7 o'clock. We've been talking about this. The little rotation spinning up along the leading edge of that gusty straight line wind gust front. Let's look at where the strongest winds are located. You see, this is kind of a really stretched out tornado warning. The ones we were tracking earlier this afternoon were the cone shape, like
the hurricane forecast cone where they're shaped like a V. This is the big box. They've issued a warning for the whole county just to account for these little spin-ups that are happening along the leading edge. So there are some here near Halifax, near Roanoke Rapids, but they come and go so quickly that it's hard to pin them down on a second-by-second basis. Just treat the whole line as essentially one stretched-out tornado. That's going to be the best safety tip. Act like it's a tornado headed for your house. The odds of it actually hitting you are relatively low, but we can't rule it out. And there's a lot of straight line wind energy with this whole line of storms that's moving through. So that rotation there looks like it's a little bit more organized for the moment here as we look into Halifax County here. Air going away from the radar, air going towards the radar. Same thing over here near Roanoke Rapids. So a couple of them that are moving off to the northeast. But again, coming back to what I used about 20 minutes ago, picture surfers along a wave. The wave is carrying this way, the surfers are going that way. So it's a little complicated in terms of which direction the rotations are moving as opposed to the whole storm front pushing them along. Want to pan farther off to the north and west into Mecklenburg County, Virginia, because we do have our other tornado warning there. That goes until 6:45 this evening. One more pan should take us over towards South Hill. Fortunately, it looks like the center of circulation, again, getting stretched out by the amount of wind energy farther up in the atmosphere, tearing apart the storm, reducing its organization. Still significant severe weather threat with this, the damaging straight line winds, but that spin is beginning to get kind of pulled apart a little bit. Still, be cautious. Take those tornado precautions to the west of South Hill in southern Virginia. This is Mecklenburg County. This is our warning that is going to continue until 6:45. The wider perspective here, and then we'll turn on the regular radar view and give you some good news for a change. Now, while we still have severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect surrounding the tornado warnings, we still have Warren County, portions of Franklin County, Nash County, Edgecombe County, and then Halifax and Northampton counties still under that severe thunderstorm warning. The rest of us are not. So we are clearing out, not in terms of rainfall, but at least clearing out in terms your weather threat. And the stuff that's out west, there's still more bands of rain, even some thunderstorms, but they are going to run into an environment that has really been worked over by this rain and the severe storms this afternoon. They're not going to have the same kind of energetic environment to become as destructive as the storms that we've seen moving through so far. So out west, there's another line of storms that we'll have to bear watching as it's crossing over the interstates out west, I-77, primarily out towards Charlotte. But right now, what we're focused on, this tornado warning, the newest one for Northampton County, goes until 7 o'clock. So we're going to continue in our nonstop coverage. We have tornado warning in effect. It's just all along this leading edge of the heavy rainfall, the damaging straight line winds, just being twisted a little bit into these brief circulations and only last on the order of 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute, but that's enough to do some damage in a short amount of time. So as the storms continue to move to the northeast, we will return to this perspective and give you an update on their progress. But for right now, what you need to know, Halifax County, under a tornado warning still, and Northampton County still under a tornado warning, along with northeastern Mecklenburg County in southern Virginia. Those are the last of the tornado warnings on the map right now. Storms continue making their way farther and farther to the northeast. They've been moving along quite rapidly, but still, it seems like they've been on the map forever at this point. We've been getting numerous pictures. We're going to send it back over to the news desk right now to look at some of the storm damage reports we've had from around the triangle.
All right, Paul, doing a great job. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have people have started to send in their pictures of some of that storm damage. If you've got something, go ahead, send it at cbs17.com.
Yeah, I want to start right now with this picture. This was sent in by Sarah Smelser. She took these at the Marquee on Edwards Mill apartment complex. That is near the Harris Teeter on Edwards Mill Road. Right near Rex Hospital, you can see trees are down in that area. Getting a lot of pictures like this, Angela, showing these branches that are down. It's certainly going to make the drive pretty rough for people.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at some of the rain that started to fall in Zebulon. I mean, really wind-whipped rain right there, coming down hard. Thankfully, the person that sent this in said there was no reported damage in the area, just a lot of rainfall.
Yeah, that is something that we saw a lot of coming through our viewing area. I think we have a picture of some more storm damage. Yeah, our friend Cleo sent this to us. A fallen limb in their garden there in North Harnett County, just to the south of Anger. No other damage noticed in that area. Cleo, thank you for sharing that. I know that is not going to be pleasant to clean up.
Okay, we want to take out some video from Orange County where they have confirmed that a tornado touched down in Hillsborough. Of course, that's where we have been all afternoon reporting on it. This is what it looked like. I guess just smoke. This is from Orange County. This is what it looked like moments before that storm actually came through. And again, we do have reports of trees down. Steve Sprazier was out there. We saw the trees on top of a home. We were able to interview one of the owners, and they said thankfully no one was injured. But yes, they do have quite a mess to clean up.
Yeah, in fact, while Steve was there, if you guys missed it, one of the giant trees that had been damaged in the background just came snapping down right behind him. And unfortunately, that is going to be something you need to be concerned about as the night goes through.
All right, let's check in with our chief meteorologist, Wes Hohenstein. And Wes, what new information do you have?
Well, let's talk about number one, what's still happening here in our neck of the woods, but let's address that line of storms that is back to the west. Let's take a look at the full radar. So obviously, Paul has broke down what's going on with not only the severe thunderstorm warnings, but the current tornado warnings that are up by the Virginia border, northeast of the triangle. But I want to address what's happening with the line of storms that you see back here just south of Asheville. I'm talking about this one down into parts of South Carolina. So that looks pretty impressive. And on any other given day, we would be concerned about that. And we are today. But two things. Number one, it's still got a long way to go before it gets here. And it's going to do so majority in the evening hours when the atmosphere is going to be a little more stable. And we've also got our own atmosphere that has been worked over by plenty of storms. So while we see there is one active thunderstorm warning with that in northern South Carolina, I want to show you what the futurecast is saying about what's going to happen with this line of storms. I think there's a possibility that it will bring us some rain. So I'm going to switch over from live radar to futurecast, and we're going to kind of walk together hour by hour about where this storm is going to go. Good guys, in Halifax County, the tornado warning has just expired. Halifax tornado warning has just expired, but we still have several others in effect for parts of Edgecombe County and other spots up by Northampton County. So here we go hour by hour. Let's go ahead and speed ahead to 8 o'clock. So there you can see at 8 o'clock, we have some storms that are down into parts of South Carolina. So I'm talking about these down here at the bottom of your screen. So those storms there, we'll have to watch them as they come up from the south. So let's continue on toward 8 o'clock. So you can see those storms back in our area with some heavy rain. And I'm going to address that in a second because we've got a pretty saturated ground. So flash flooding is still going to be possible later tonight. Here we are toward 9. Notice those storms, heavy rain still hanging around through 10 o'clock. The line of storms that's in South Carolina now with the severe thunderstorm warning to the west, notice how that starts to break up a little bit and staying more so toward the triad. And here we are. The end result I wanted to get to is by about midnight, you can see there's going to be a cluster of storms on the coast. Will be more dry than anything here in central North Carolina. And that line of storms we're watching back to the west as we now get toward about 1 a.m. still holds on as just a few showers and thunderstorms, but definitely nothing like what we've seen to this point. And boy, have we seen a lot. I want to give you some estimated rainfall totals now. And basically you see a map that has a wall of green and blue. We've had a decent amount of rain up to this point so far. So with a lot already in the ground, maybe more heavy rain coming later tonight, flash flooding is going to be a concern. So let's just kind of sweep across the area. We'll do some Doppler estimated rainfall totals. I'll start in western parts of Chatham County, which was one of the first spots that got the severe weather and the heavy rain earlier. In the last 24 hours, Doppler estimated rainfall totals more than 3 inches. Here in Wake County, not as much because it took a lot longer for the rain to get here. We've got some estimated totals anywhere between 1/2 inch to maybe just 1/4 inch. And then along the I-95 corridor, where they have received some more of the heavy rain, estimates anywhere from 1 to 2 inches. So on average, anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3 inches of rain has dropped across the area. I'll query some more spots. There's up in Orange County where they have got a lot of rain, more than 2 inches estimated there. Northern parts of Durham County, some very heavy rain, about 1/2 inch. Let's come back down to the south. You guys in the Sandhills have had a round of storms. You've received about an estimated rainfall total 1 to 1.5 inches. So a good amount of rain already out there, but there is definitely more coming later tonight. Probably not going to be as strong. In fact, we have most likely seen the strongest of storms already, but still more rain to come. And just look at all the storm damage reports. There's a lot of little small boxes on there, anything from funnel cloud and tornado reports to the little broken trees you see. Those are damaging wind reports that have resulted in damaged trees, damaged power lines. We've had wind gust reports And these are outside of the thunderstorms. Look at some of the wind gust report. Let's go to the one down in Wayne County. This was in Goldsboro after 6 o'clock, about a 50-mile-an-hour wind gust there. We had an additional one in Pikeville in Wayne County of 50 miles per hour. We've talked about all the funnel cloud reports. We showed you those earlier, but how about some of the wind damage reports? Tree down on power lines earlier today around the Avon Ferry area. Let's go back down to the Sandhills where they had a wind gust report of 64 miles per hour in the Hope Mills area. And down the road, we had a severe thunderstorm wind damage report just across the line in Bladen County, where the emergency manager reported a roof blown off a shed in and around the St. Paul's area. They're calling it a possible tornado, but it also could be some damaging wind gusts. In western Wake County earlier today, this morning, we had power lines down around the New Hill area. In eastern Wake County, in Wendell, shortly before lunchtime, we had power lines down. So there you can see a long list of damage reports. Unfortunately, things that we expected, but live radar right now for the entire area still shows several strong storms in our area. The worst of the weather right now is northeast of the triangle. Remember, we have still a couple of active tornado warnings. Let's till 6:45. There is also one in parts of northern Mecklenburg County. That tornado warning goes until 6:45 for Mecklenburg County. That now is just west of the South Hill area, moving off to the north very quickly. So while that one actually just expired as we just moved past 6:45. So now the only remaining tornado warnings we have are for Northampton County. That is the most far northeast county in our viewing area. As you know, we cover from the Virginia border all the way down to Fayetteville, west to Chatham County, and east all the way to Edgecombe County. So it's a large area of central North Carolina that we are responsible for covering and keeping you safe. And for now, this is one of the most calmest time periods we've had in the last 5 or 6 hours, but that still leaves us with one active tornado warning. Let's go in a little closer and talk about where the worst of that weather is. There's kind of two sections to this tornado warning, and bear with me here 1 second. I'm going to remove all of the text on the top of your screen. So there you can see that Northampton tornado, and I'm going to put everything into motion for you real quick. And there you can see everything very quickly still moving off to the northeast, but that tornado warning still in effect for parts of Northampton County. That's in effect until 7 o'clock. So that's another 15 minutes. Damaging wind gusts in addition to a possible tornado, but there's two areas within this cluster of storms we're keeping an eye on. One is just north of the Roanoke Rapids area. So I'm going to switch back to the analytical mode. So we're going to look at where the winds are going, which direction they're blowing. And the area that we're watching just north of Roanoke Rapids, you can see the green, bright colors butting right up against the red. That's telling us that's where some rotation could be. So if I switch back to the traditional radar view, you can see that is at the tail end of this cluster of thunderstorms. So again, like we talked about earlier, we have this long line of storms. And when you see breaks in that line of storms, you see that break right there? It's at the tail end of one of those sections where the winds might start to rotate. And that's right about where we're seeing some rotation crossing right along I-95. This is north of Roanoke Rapids. This is where we could have a possible tornado. So if you live in and around that area, this is the time where you'd want to start to listen for something different sounding outside. You want to give your friends and family in that area a heads up that they might have a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. But let's go in and do some street level tracking and talk about where the worst of this weather could be. Again, we mentioned I-95 right about as you cross into the Virginia. There's a rest into Virginia. There's a rest stop in that area that they're starting to do some construction on. So if you travel that route, you know right about where I'm talking about. This is west of Highway 301. This is now north of Roanoke Rapids. So this is where one possible tornado could be. But that cluster also has a second part to it that could be producing a tornado. And I want to just take a quick look at that as we've had a few new radar scans. And this has some rotation. You can see, as we've all learned today, that anytime you see the green and the red up against each other, that's where you want to look for some rotation. But this particular rotation is a little more broad. Notice how the colors are more spread out instead of concentrated. So I'm not as concerned with that cluster of storms as we were with the others. And that update, I think we just got an extension of severe thunderstorm warning. popped in yet. So they did extend it. I'm not sure why it's not updating on my end. And I just lost my IFB. But yeah, they did extend it. So let's widen back out here and let's query the new extension of the warning. And that would be for this cluster. That is an extension of the tornado warning that will continue into parts of southern Virginia. This is the far northeastern part of Northampton County. And this one goes until 7:30 now. So it'll most likely clear North Carolina before 7:30. However, as we approach now 10 minutes until 7, we still have that threat for northeastern parts of central North Carolina. So there's a whole clustering there of red and yellow boxes. Just know that's where the worst of the weather is now. But the areas that I'm most concerned with are really only in northeastern Northampton County. And that would include areas in and around Rich Square up to Seaboard. And you see it's that line of storms that I'm going to circle right here that is producing not only some of the heaviest rain, but also some damaging wind gusts. And as we showed you just a few seconds ago, right there in and around the Seaboard area, that's and possibly a active tornado on the ground. And you can see, we'll zoom in a little closer. Yep, that's the area right there. You can see the inbound and outbound winds. That's the two different colors you're seeing, the red and the green. And when they're going in opposite directions like that, that's when you could have a tornado. Definitely rotation up in the clouds. It is right around the Seaboard area. Margarettsville, right around there, crossing Highway 186. These are the storms that could be producing a tornado right now. Other than that, several thunderstorm warnings we're keeping an eye on. We'll look at the biggest picture right now. And you can see as we kind of put everything into motion for you. Shalon, can you bring me a battery so I can have my IFB working again? Because I have no idea where we're going next. I think we're going to go either to Paul or the anchors. So there you can see the big picture, guys, as we take a look at the radar. There is another batch of rain headed across central North Carolina. So as that hits your house, remember, it's not severe rain. It's just some regular rain. But Angela and Bill are here in the studio with me. They have an update on the storms.
Yeah, we want to share with you some of the pictures and videos that we're starting to get in from viewers of the storms before they hit, after they hit, and of course, during it.
Yeah, this is some of the stronger rains that came in earlier today. Look at this. They created huge problems. You see that car flipped upside down. Now, we actually came across the scene of this wreck. We even got there right as police were arriving. Look at this.
Wow.
Yeah, it is, believe it or not, right here on the Durham Freeway, right near I-40. The people who were inside and their pets made it out. They weren't hurt. It is incredible when you see that video to realize people were able to walk away. And unfortunately, we saw scenes like this play out all across the triangle.
You helping the rescue?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get them out.
What's your name?
Victor Weaver.
Victor, tell me what happened.
I'm not sure. We just came up coming from our jobs and seen the car turned over and a lot of people started assisting. They said a hydroplane.
Hydroplaned and the back end slid around and lost control.
How many people were in the car?
3.
Are they all out?
All out and all okay. 3 animals.
How did you get them out?
Man right here, if I'm not mistaken.
I unbuckled, fell down, and went in the back and unbuckled them.
They've got a bunch of dogs too here?
3.
Wow. Yeah, as I said, happy to report all 3 people and their dogs made it out okay, but that is obviously a lesson in just how dangerous these roads can be when the rain is coming down.
Well, today's wind and rain brought down several trees all across our area.
Oh, yes, and our own Colleen Quigley has a look at just some of the damage left behind.
All day we've been telling you about the potential for some downed trees and power lines. Check it out. We're on Heather Drive off of Western Boulevard. Look at this. This tree came down just before noon, totaling 2 of the cars here. Fortunately, we spoke with the people who live here. Nobody was hurt, so that's the good news. They did lose power and obviously the damage to the cars, but they are feeling really fortunate right now because they said it could have been a lot worse had the tree gone the other way toward their house. Again, Duke Energy said they have crews standing by all day to get to situations like this so they can make the repairs and hopefully get the lights on for these folks in a timely manner. Reporting in Raleigh, Colleen Quigley, CBS 17 News.
Colleen, thank you. Of course, that's a lot of what we're seeing around here, the downed trees from when the storm moved through.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly Kennedy is in Johnson County to look at some of the damage there.
We want to show you some damage now in Johnston County. We're in Pine Level off of Innit Road, and take a look behind me at this mobile home. You can see part of the roof is hanging off. We have Pine Level firefighters here working on that roof right now. I did speak with them. They told me everyone here is safe. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but just to show you how powerful those winds were, take a look over here. You can see some insulation from the mobile home over here, and again, crew said everyone is safe. Things have calmed down in Johnston County for now. We're just seeing very light rain, still a little bit of wind. We're going to continue to update you. For now, reporting in Johnston County, I'm Kelly Kennedy for CBS 17.
All right, Kelly, thank you. And right now, Duke Energy reporting outages in the area. The outage map is currently down, and it's been like this all afternoon.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it right now. Now, at one point, we know that 13,000 people were without power in the Triangle alone, and then we were seeing even greater numbers out further from the Triangle. Duke Energy crews, they are hard at work right now trying to get the power back on. A couple quick reminders to stay alert. And if you do lose power, you can report it via text message. Simply text OUT, O-U-T, to 57801.
Now, stay away from downed power lines because they could be active, and we've seen some of those already in the area. Reported down lines right away if you do see one, because again, that can be very, very dangerous.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the damage that we're seeing in more rural communities, but there's plenty of it to be seen in the more densely populated area too. In fact, let's get to more of our coverage from Raleigh.
The neighbors say this happened around lunchtime. Come take a look over here. You can see the stump that remains from where the crews have gotten the tree that fell across the road here. This is near the intersection of Horn, Stafford, and Raleigh in the Cameron Village neighborhood. One of the neighbors gave me a picture of the tree while this was still down in the road earlier today. It snapped several of the utility poles here and brought down the wires going around the corner. Surprisingly, a lot of the neighbors here did not lose power, nor did anybody have any damage. Listen to what one of the neighbors told me.
And it didn't hit a car, didn't hit a human, didn't hit a house, and so we consider ourselves very lucky. And we never even lost power or cable, but a lot of wind.
As the afternoon went on, some of the neighbors say they eventually did lose power here. Now some are getting their plans together for the next round of storms expected to come through later tonight. In Raleigh, Michael Hyland, CBS 17 News.
All right, Michael, thank you. And CBS 17's Robert Richardson is checking out the situation in our western counties, including a car that actually ran into a pole in Durham County.
This is St. Mary's Road in Durham County. We're about 15 minutes north of Durham, about 15 minutes east of Hillsborough. And as you can see behind me, there is a silver white car that is off the road. It is on top of some of the power lines. Durham Sheriff's Office says that that vehicle went off the road during the rain, took out a power pole. There are about a half dozen employees from Piedmont Electric currently working on removing the downed pole, replacing it, and getting the lines back up. The Durham County Sheriff's Office has blocked off this road. Once again, this is St. Mary's Road near Red Pine Road here in Durham. Workers are trying to get this work done before another round of storms comes through in the afternoon. Reporting in Durham County, Robert Richardson, CBS 17 News.
And we do have a quick programming note. The Young and the Restless will now be airing at 2:37 Saturday morning. So please make sure that you set your DVR so you don't miss out on your favorites. So far, there has been, as we've reported, one confirmed tornado in Franklin County, Virginia, right near the Smith Mountain Lake and Roanoke area.
Yeah, take a look at the damage to one home, the roof and the bricks. Do we have that video that we're able to show? If not, we'll try to get that to you in just... All right, we're going to go ahead and check in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein and Meteorologist Paul Hagan. Of course, we still have a tornado warning in effect.
Yeah, day it's been. I was just counting on my fingers. We started with the afternoon edition of this shortly after 2 o'clock, of course. So you were covering several tornado warnings this morning, too. It has been a incredibly busy day.
A long day and still in progress with still one more tornado warning. Basically, it's 3 different boxes. The rotating part of this storm is across the border into Virginia. So Northampton County, you're out of the woods there. The storms have largely moved out of this other tornado warning, but here in the northeastern corner of Northampton County, this is as far northeast as you can go in the CBS 17 viewing area. We still have this gust front that's producing these little ripples along. You can just kind of follow the wave pattern there, indicating the way that the wind is changing direction. So we look inside the storm, and there we go. Not seeing anything of any great concern, right? There's nothing stands out here, plus the radar beam.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at different radar sites from the Raleigh radar, but this is still 5,000 feet off the
And
ground.
remember, with the curvature of the Earth, you know, the farther away you get from the radar site, the more you're looking up in the clouds instead of down in the lower levels, which is kind of where we want to look at these storms.
Right, and you would ordinarily see a stronger rotation signal even farther up in the cloud, not with this kind of storm. They tend to form pretty low to the ground, so maybe flying underneath the radar. That's where they're keeping the warning going all the way until 7:30. Now, they should cancel the warning as the storms move out of Northampton County. But again, this rotation's out of Northampton County. The warning's still in effect. The other ones are still there as well. You're monitoring this. That spot might be a slightly greater concern, but it really looks like it's kind of becoming.
Right. Yeah. Notice how they're more spread. Most of the definite tornadoes that we've spotted today, they've had a little round, circular, bright green or bright red. That's what we want to see as meteorologists when we analyze this, to see the rotation. When you see something that's kind of drawn out like this, it's not as impressive.
It's got gusty winds. There's no doubt of that. I mean, about 60 to 7, maybe approaching 80-mile-an-hour winds. But in terms of the tornado threat, they're going to come and go on a second-by-second basis. A lot of it depends on geography with this kind of event. I've seen that previously, where the wind will flow through a valley around a hill and kind of just keep spinning downwind of that. But right now, again, not the major concern for the moment. We'll zoom back out to kind of the bigger perspective here and turn the regular radar view back on for everybody, so you can see where we're looking compared to where the rain, well, it continues to fall, and more rain moving into the triangle.
Right, and we should point out that, I'm sure those of you, especially in Orange County, which I think has been the hardest hit area today, you're getting more rain, but I just want to let you know that it's not severe. This is just regular stratiform rain. It's not it might produce a gusty wind. It's going to be maybe a little bit moderate, but the threat of tree knocking down winds and tornado storms is not with this second round of rain coming through.
Right, so we're going to have to watch these storms too. There is a severe thunderstorm warning around Spartanburg. Well, it just dropped off the map, actually. So those storms, I think, especially after the sun goes down, are going to remain below. It's never say never when there's this amount of wind energy in the atmosphere, but this batch of rain that we've been tracking all day essentially really just zapped most of the energy out of the atmosphere. The storms to really intensify. We really don't even have that much lightning and thunder left over in our neck of the woods.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this cluster of storms coming at us from the south. It was last night at 11 o'clock, we circled this little cluster of thunderstorms around Orlando. That's the one that came straight up to the south and was here closer to lunchtime or before lunchtime.
Yeah.
And so we've got another one down to the south. We'll have to see if that clips the eastern area or stays along the coast. Right now, it's looking like it wants to go maybe closer to the coast.
It does, up the coastal plain perhaps, and just more rain, which again, Orange County, western Chatham County too, a lot of damage being reported. Our news crews are kind of sorting through all the different reports around the Siler City area, with a couple of structures damaged there and some homes as well. Again, what you're getting now is just plain old rain. The last tornado warning is in effect for that eastern part of Northampton County. So let's dive in for another look, because what else are we going to do except zoom in on the one storm that still prompts a tornado warning.
Yeah. And, while you have it on that shot, let's explain to people, when you get a segment that's bowing out like that, it's not a straight line. It's kind of getting pushed out. There's some strong winds behind it. And then when you get the main line broken up into chunks like that, when it breaks apart, little swirls happen at either end of those chunks, and that's where we get a possible tornado.
Just picture the one big line of storms. It's made up of individual segments, individual structures that can interact with each other and, cause some trouble on a minute-by-minute basis. Again, looking inside, and again, it's that stretched out rotation. This is really the strongest one. That's over the Virginia state line. Another one out here towards Druryville to the south and west. So there are some rotating storms certainly out there. Another one farther up into southern Virginia. But this particular portion of the line, I think, just has that straight line wind threat. Wonder if we can get an estimate just for fun. Let's see if we can try to estimate how fast the winds are there. We may not get any good results here just because we're
so far away
from the radar, but let's just pick a few spots along the line.
Well, actually,
45 to 60 mile-an-hour winds. That's not as strong. I did this a little earlier when Wes was on the air from the Weather Center, and those numbers were in the 60 to 70, close to 80 range. This is a lot lighter, so that's an encouraging sign that maybe that portion of the line of storms is losing some of its punch as it's moving through the northeasternmost tip of the CBS 17 viewing area right now.
Yeah, and this is moving off to the northeast. So our friends maybe in Murfreesboro, you might have some gusty winds as that line of storms comes through. But the actual tornado signature, while this storm was warned upon, is moving more up to the northeast. So that's going to cross faster into parts of Virginia.
And keep in mind, we still have thunderstorm warning for Warren County, for Franklin, Nash, Edgerton counties, along with Halifax and Northampton counties. That goes until 7:15. because there's some strong winds farther up in the atmosphere that then get kind of dragged down to ground level by all of this rain. So that thread is still moving off. That will be allowed to expire here in 12 minutes, along with hopefully the last of the tornado warnings that are in effect right now. Technically, that goes till 7:30. They start to trim those up. Be able to sound the all clear for those folks as well.
Yeah, and one thing they'll have to watch out for, the winds now might not be as strong as they were earlier, but we have a lot more rain in the ground, and you could still have some trees coming down. Yep. Instead of a 40-mile-an-hour gust that took down a tree earlier, maybe it's only a 30-mile-an-hour gust that takes down a big tree tonight.
And you're going to have to watch for that tomorrow. The rain is largely going to be gone. I mean, an isolated shower chance Saturday into early Sunday, but it's going to be breezy throughout the day tomorrow, so watch out if